What happened to Cain in the Bible? In the book of Genesis, we are told about Cain's birth, his violent act of fratricide, and his subsequent exile. We learn that he married and had descendants, but the Bible is strangely mute about his death. How did Cain die? If he did not die naturally, who killed Cain? In the Bible, do we have any clues? John Byron, a professor of the New Testament at Ashland Theological Seminary, tackles these questions in his Biblical Views column, Did Cain Get Away with Murder? There is a myth that Cain was never allowed to die, and as punishment for being the first murderer, he was condemned to roam the earth until the end of time. He would never age, and everywhere he travels, misfortune goes with him. Cain must have accumulated a tremendous amount of experience through the passage of time. He is constantly on the move as he still bears the highly visible mark of Cain, which God placed upon him. And he is supposedly shunned by everyone who recognizes the mark. He is also reputedly deeply regretful of what he did to Abel, endlessly hoping that God will forgive him and finally release him from this overbearing judgment. It is also believed that just before the end times are to occur, Cain will publicly reveal himself to the world and offer undeniable proof of who he is. In the book of Genesis, after Cain kills Abel, God curses Cain to a life of toil and wandering. But when Cain laments that his own life is in danger, God promises to protect him. The Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who came upon him would kill him. Genesis. What is this mysterious mark? The Hebrew word oth can mean a sign or token of any kind, with nothing to indicate if having such a mark is good or bad. Is it a visible mark on Cain's body? If so, what and where? Or does it refer to some other kind of distinguishing sign? Jewish and Christian interpreters have proposed various explanations. The Bible connects the mark with divine protection, but some interpreters link it with the curse that God placed upon Cain, imagining it as a badge of shame. One suggestion in a Jewish midrash, for example, is that Cain was punished with leprosy, a Genesis rabbah. Another interpretation has a disturbing, racist legacy, the idea that the mark of Cain is dark skin. Although nothing in the Bible suggests it is related to skin color, the motif that Cain was cursed with blackness, and that black people are cursed as well, was common from the 18th to the 20th century. Together with the more common motif that Noah's son Ham was cursed with black skin and his descendants condemned to slavery, this interpretation of Cain's mark was deployed to justify the slave trade, and some religious denominations in America used it to support segregation and the exclusion of African Americans from church leadership. The same midrash that mentions leprosy, Genesis rabbah, also suggests a range of other possibilities. For instance, it relates that Cain grew a horn, which is both a mark of identity and a defensive weapon. This same text also speculates that God gave Cain a dog as the mark. Though dogs tend to be portrayed negatively in classical Jewish sources, the dog might be a sign both of stigma and of protection from attackers. Other Jewish and Christian writers imagine a visible symbol on Cain's forehead that communicates he should not be harmed, although his forehead is not mentioned in Genesis. Byron explains that ancient interpreters were not afraid to change the story of Cain in the Bible to fit with their sense of justice, ensuring that he was adequately punished for killing his brother Abel. One of the most popular interpretations credits Lamek, Cain's great-great-grandson, with killing Cain. Lamek admits to having killed a man in Genesis. Ancient interpreters believed that this passage sheds light on who killed Cain in the Bible, and they identified the man Lamek killed in verse 23 with Cain. How and why did Lamek kill Cain? According to the Lamek Legend, which was based on Genesis 4 but which evolved over the centuries, Lamek accidentally killed Cain while he was hunting with his son Tubal-Cain. In the legend, Lamek is a blind but skilled hunter, and Tubal-Cain accompanies him to direct his bow and arrow. Hearing a noise in the bushes, they shoot what they think is a wild animal. Upon investigation, though, they discover that Lamek's arrow has killed Cain. However, the Lamek legend is just one of the ways ancient interpreters sought to answer the question, how did Cain die? Did Cain die in the flood? Did he die naturally? Did Lamek kill Cain? If Lamek did not, then was there someone else who killed Cain? In the Bible, we will not find a definitive answer. To find out more about the Lamek legend and other interpretations that seek to explain what happened to Cain in the Bible, read the full Biblical Views column by John Byron, a professor of the New Testament at Ashland Theological Seminary. Down through the years, both Jewish and Christian scholars have put forth hypotheses for Cain's mark. Some have suggested an uncontrollable trembling of his body, some facial disfiguration, or a wild ferocity of aspect in his eyes or on his face that rendered him an object of horror or avoidance. One of the most radical explanations was that God made Cain impervious to anything at that time which could kill him. A sword could not pierce him, fire could not burn him, water could not drown him, the air could not blast him, nor could thunder or lightning strike him. Could it be possible that Cain's physical body died, but that his soul or spirit continues to live? Jesus made this astonishing statement that God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and everyone else. Thus, in one sense, one can say that Cain is still alive as a soul spirit, but his physical body is dead. Down through the years, both Jewish and Christian scholars have put forth hypotheses for Cain's mark. Some have suggested an uncontrollable trembling of his body, some facial disfiguration, or a wild ferocity of aspect in his eyes or on his face that rendered him an object of horror or avoidance. Interestingly, there are even more peculiar interpretations. According to some ancient texts, Cain possessed a unique ability to communicate with animals, enabling him to command creatures of the earth. Others speculate that Cain had an uncanny resistance to extreme temperatures, making him impervious to both scorching heat and freezing cold. These strange characteristics, if true, add layers of mystery to the enigmatic figure of Cain, leaving us to ponder the depths of his story and its implications. If you like my videos, please subscribe my channel.